Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Heavy Metallurgy. Hope you're doing well, and Happy New Year's Eve. Today is the fleeting hours of 2024. Hope you all had a decent year. Thank you for spending it with us. We had a very good, productive year over at Heavy Metallurgy. We appreciate you. Alan, how are you doing this evening?
Doing all right. Just, kind of laying low for the last day of the year and tying up some loose ends and just getting ready for a new year, enjoying a few more days off from work before everybody heads back to school and all of that kind of stuff. Cheers to everybody who's starting to fill up the chat. Thank you for taking some time to join us tonight. We're not figuring this will be a very long kind of thing, but we have a kind of a special thing we wanted to launch, and we figured why not get it out tonight so that other content creators can start to take advantage of it and maybe record something tomorrow, since a lot of them will probably have the day off. So what are we doing tonight, Marty?
Well, we are doing the Metal Tag 2025. We stepped in last year with the coaxing of Mike, our friend Metal Mickey over there in the UK. His buddy Scott the Rock Scout used to do this, kind of started this tradition. And Scott's been opening a new business, doing all sorts of family type stuff and getting his business going. So we stepped in last year and did it. And we asked Scott the Rock Scout one more time. I asked him if he was going to be taking back the reins this year, and he said, nope, go ahead and do it. So here we are. 20 new questions for 2025.
Yeah, and thanks to Scott for letting us take another crack at it. Folks enjoyed it last year. Folks always enjoy it. It's just a kind of fun way to get the ball rolling for channels at the start of a new year. You know, end of the year, people aren't buying a lot of releases. Not a lot of new stuff is coming out. Bands probably aren't, out on the road just yet. So it can be kind of a slow time in the music world. And this gives people just something, very fun, very easy, and kind of unique to, make a video about, get some eyeballs on their channel as they fire up the new year. So that's what we're here for.
We are. And Alan and I crafted 20 new questions. He did half, I did half. We co-conspirated on a couple of them, tightened up the ship a little bit.
Yep.
And hopefully have something here we're talking about. And
and those questions
their collection.
The questions are in the show comments down below. So for any channels that want to pick up the metal tag and run with it, the questions are down there for you, so that you don't have to keep playing our video back and forth over and over to catch the questions.
Right.
Marty's got them all copied and pasted into the show notes for you, so you can very easily access them right there.
Right. So without further ado, shall we just jump into this and see the chat's filling up? 43 people. Cheers, everyone. Hope you're all doing well and having a good night.
Happy New Year, everybody.
We're going to go through this and probably an hour.
Yeah, I don't think it'll take us even a full hour to do, but we'll find out. But yes, we should start down the list. And again, the questions are, there's not like a particular rhyme or reason to the ordering. They're just a lot of fun questions.
And I know after this, over on Gas Masks and Hand Grenades, Jeff is trying a new streaming service. So he's going to be doing a test on that. And him and Rick and probably some other people are going to be together jibber-jabbing about that, checking out that new software. It's not.
He has a big stream coming up this weekend too, does he not? Sort of a 2024 retrospective with a ton of guests.
A ton of guests, yep. And there's going to be an East Coast and West Coast and European contingent to this. So
yeah, they're going to kind of rotate through.
They're going to rotate people out. So expect a rollerball styled version of Best of 2024 over Gas Mask and Hand Grenades. It'll be a lot of fun as always. So definitely go check that out on Saturday. I don't remember the time, but just go over there and check it out. You'll figure it out.
Yep. But should be pretty cool.
Without further ado, Alan, why don't you get started? Question number 1. Hype. Name a release you are eagerly anticipating in 2025.
Right. We talked about some of these very briefly at the end of our end of year best of stream from Friday night. One that I am really hoping will come out in 2025, and the artist has been talking about it for a solid year now, and in terms of really working on it, and 2025 is when they've been aiming to get this out to folks, is the new studio album from Savatage. John Oliva's been working on it for a long time. he has said repeatedly in interviews that he really wants to make one more really killer, top-notch Sabotage album for the fan base. But he's also made it very clear that will be the last one. He's like, I want to go back. I want to go out on a bang, give folks, something really awesome as our finale. He's like, and once I do that, that would be it for Sabotage. So here's hoping that it comes together in 2025 and that it is indeed, the kind of, big grand finale that he's envisioning. Because it's been 24 years or so since we had a studio album from Sabotage. And those last couple are not exactly fan favorites, so it would be cool to see if the Mountain Kings return for one more big outing. That would be awesome in my book.
So I'm really confused though, because he the band lineup, he's not in it. He's not in the picture. Is he just writing the stuff and not really doing anything?
Well, he's been kind of in and out at times. Like he. On the last album, Poets and Madmen, he did all the vocals or almost all the vocals for it. So he's been in the band. He's been out of the band. He's always worked with the band, though, in terms of songwriting and, helping behind the scenes with things. So it's still, a project he's deeply invested in and working with to some degree. I don't know what the lineup would be for new material. That I have not heard. The details may be out there in an interview, but he has at least been kind of spearheading writing the new material and trying to get it pulled together. But yeah, in terms of who the personnel will be, he's got a cast of characters he could call on from, their various lineups over the years. So I don't know if he's going to maybe try to get a lot of guest appearances in and bring in as many folks as he can, or maybe he's got, just, a core group that's dedicated to making one more opus under the Sabotage banner. Not sure.
All right.
Okay, all right, Marty, so your turn. What's a release you're eagerly anticipating in 2025?
2025 is all about the new Halloween. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. So that's first and foremost, drink. And I'm also looking forward to a new Throne of Thorns album. I'm looking forward to a new King Diamond and or Merciful Fate album. And who knows, maybe even a new Glorious Dead album. We got about 4.5 songs in the hopper we're working on. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it's this year or next year after. But yep, that's what I'm looking forward to in 2025. Number 2, show the 25th item, LP, CD, your choice in your collection. All right.
All right. So yeah, for this, I had my whole collection on a spreadsheet. So I just went to row number 26 because row number 1 is a bunch of headers. So you have to subtract 1. Turns out item number 25 on the spreadsheet is something I hadn't pulled out in years. It is a 7-inch by Abigail. It is their tribute to Enemy's Unholy Death 7-inch EP. The thing that is really cool is just they cover 4 songs off the Enemy album. One thing that I really like about this is they copy the Enemy sleeve layout and design almost exactly. You've got the Abigail logo there at the top, and the Abigail tribute too. Everything else here is pretty much a dead ringer for the actual album they're copying. It's the same skull design, band logo, all the print up and down the 2 sides is exactly the same. They even went to the trouble of replicating the center labels dead on. Here's the center label from the original LP. And you've got the center label on the 7-inch is exactly the same. Even the little phrase up here at the top about, all rights reserved, you copy, you die. All of those things. All the little squiggles and everything. It's not just a tribute in terms of covering the songs. They kind of went out of their way to draw on the entire design of the thing. So yeah, it's an okay kind of covers thing. I haven't played it in ages. Kind of forgot I had it, to be honest. But when I checked number 25, this is number 25. So Marty, what's number 25 in your collection?
Well, I did this 3 times. I did one for my tapes, for my CDs, and for my records. So,
okay.
Number 25th on the shelf of my cassette collection is Raising Fear by Armored Saint.
Oh, nice.
It's a solid record. Again, I don't really hide the fact I think this band is kind of vanilla wafer. I don't know. They're okay. They're okay. 25th item on my CD shelf was Kali Yuga Bazaar by Aborium.
Cool.
This has got, I think, Attila doing some guest vocals on it, but solid black metal album with some electronic infusion to it.
Mm-hmm.
Italian band. This was on Scarlet SPV. But yeah, I'm a sucker for this type of stuff. I don't listen to it often, but I do like industrial infused metal. He is an American metal icon. Yeah, I agree with you there. I just don't think he's been in the right band that really challenges him to. I'm sorry, I don't. It's Anthrax, Category 7 or 9, and Armored Saint. It's just I don't know. Mm-hmm. 25th record on my shelf is Angel Corpse, Hammer of Gods.
Nice.
My favorite Angel Corpse album. Very old school, thrashy riffage, super catchy. Yeah. Order from Chaos. Influence, of course. You got Pete in there singing. So, I don't know. Perversion Enthroned. Oh, my God. Black Solstice. What a song. Holy shit. Consecration. This is a great, absolute.
Is that the one with Lord of the Funeral Pyre on it?
It is.
I love that track by them. I tend to get their tracks sometimes a little mixed up.
Yep. Their albums got definitely more complex and ferocious as they went, but this one just is the right mix of thrash and black and just so catchy and memorable. Great band. Great band for sure.
Somebody mentioned in chat comments earlier today that there was a release of their demo material came out earlier this year, which I completely missed.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
Fans may want to check that out if, like myself, you totally missed it.
All right. Well, we'll move on to number 3 in our little list here. Overdue. Name an older band that you checked out for the first time in 2024 and loved. All right. I struggled with this one a bit.
I had to do a little thinking too, but there was a good example of this, and it was
who makes these stupid questions?
Yeah, this was a viewer recommendation based on a video I made over on Let's Talk Metal earlier this year. Metal Lieutenant often leaves nice comments on videos, and I had done a video about metal bands that had all-female lineups, and he mentioned you should really check out this band from Japan called Shoya, that they've been around for a long time and done some really cool albums. I had never even heard of the band, but I picked up one of the albums on his recommendation, which is this one, Outer Limits. And yeah, this is a great album. It's 80s hard rock metal kind of sound. Not glammy, really. It just kind of leans more in a hard rock direction. But yeah, this has some fantastic tunes on it. Two best ones are probably, let's see, Lovers and I Am the Storm. But Trouble is really good. Outer Limits is really good. Very, very good. They've got a lot of videos, old concert footage. Again, apparently they've been around a long time, done multiple albums. Some really good video footage of the band, very charismatic on stage. So yeah, had been around forever, never once checked them out. Really glad I did though. So big thanks to Metal Lieutenant for recommending Shoya, and sooner or later, I'm sure I'll get around to picking up another one of their albums. All right, Marty, so you struggled with this one. Who did you finally land on?
I kind of cheated a little bit because, this is a band I've heard before, but I never heard in a large enough context. And I never, I saw, I'm just going to show first and foremost. Accept.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've heard this band, obviously, but I was just, balls to the wall. Always so simplistic and silly, and I don't know. I just always was not a big fan until it just started to finally click. And when it did click, I'm like, yep, what was I thinking? I've been slowly picking up the records when they turn up cheap. Mm-hmm. This is a Spanish pressing I got at a record show for $18. Good shape.
Nice.
I also got Breaker, the one with the girl screaming on the cover.
Yep,
for $18.
That's a good one.
So I'm filling it in. My kid too. I've gotten a couple of the newer albums, and my kid just picked up the one with the bull with his own money at the record store the
So
other day.
Blind Rage or something.
Blind Rage or something. And we
Yep.
sat and listened to it the other night, and I'm like, there's nothing I don't like about this. It's just really simplistic,
Mm-hmm.
straightforward, solid, not rocking the boat, kind of staying in its own lane, heavy metal. And I'm like, this is just another one of those bands I kind of deprived myself for so long because I needed it to be complex or extreme or,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, this one here, Fast as a Shark, is the one that they say might have a bit to do with the whole thrash metal movement. A lot of bands cite this band as
Very big
getting
on
that
speed
going.
metal. Yeah, really
Yep,
speed metal
speed
track.
metal. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, I've heard the band before going into this, but I never really clicked with any of their stuff enough to start buying their stuff. Not in mass, but when they turn up, I am buying. They are coming home with me, and so there's a little bit of a cheat there. Sorry, but that's where we're
Yeah,
at.
we'll let it pass. And by the way, I've been cleaning out the CD Rex the past couple of days, and I've got a comp of early accept stuff for Parker that I'll put in the next box I'll send to you. It's got like
cool.
tracks from like their first 5 or 6 albums or so, kind of just on one disc. And I don't really need it for anything, but you mentioned he was getting into them, so I'll send that his way when I can.
Cool. Yeah, we sat down and listened to The Traveler on our errands the other day, and we both come away with a thumbs up on it. So it'll be something we're gonna have to definitely dig into a bit more. But
Good deal. Good deal. Glad you liked it.
yeah, thank you again. And next one, number 4, Feeding the Monkey. How do you purchase most of your music? As in local store, Bandcamp, specific online sites, etc. Alan.
Yeah, so more of a collector question here. At least this past year, yeah, and maybe for the past couple of years, I would have to say, no surprise, a lot of my stuff is coming through Discogs. I do shop at local stores, and I'm lucky to have multiple stores in my area that do carry a decent amount of metal stuff. But it can be hit or miss. You go, they get some cool stuff in, but then it can take a while for that inventory to turn over and some more stuff come in. eBay, I hardly ever buy off of eBay anymore. Amazon, I'll get something from time to time. I check different online individual distros for things, but a lot of times I can just find the best price on stuff and usually combine a few items together by poking around on Discogs for a while. So it may seem kind of obvious, but yeah, that's definitely been where most of my stuff has come through. I haven't got a lot through Bandcamp this past year, I noticed, which I've never been like, a Bandcamp fiend who just, buys tons of stuff from there. But I was really surprised how little I purchased through Bandcamp this past year, even in terms of MP3s. I bet I didn't buy more than half a dozen items total through Bandcamp in 2024. So, yep. More of a lots of used CDs through Discogs year for me. What about yourself? Where have you been getting most of your stuff, Marty?
Well, whenever I decide I want something, I typically my first place I always check is eBay. When eBay, Ellen and I are both two people that got in on the eBay craze when it first started, and it was during a time where you could get records for dirt cheap. People were giving away their vinyl. So I've always had so much fun and got some great scores off of eBay. So I always go there first. I do buy a lot of stuff via the sellers on eBay. Discogs is secondary. Bandcamp, I've gotten to the point where as a record label guy, I deal with Bandcamp, and I don't like Bandcamp. I like it. I can see why bands like it, obviously, but I go there and I start digging, and I find something I finally like. I go to buy an actual copy and it's sold out, or they don't have any. And it's frustrating because I am not going to buy digital. I just don't buy digital unless I absolutely have to. So Bandcamp is typically more frustrating than I just don't like it. And as far as distros go, I close-ish to Cleveland, so Hell's Headbangers does get the job done very well. Dark Descent, of course. Arcane
Nameless
Altar
Grave Nameless Grave is a really good distro.
Yep.
They get a lot of stuff in that other distros don't tend to carry.
As far as stores go, there's a place in Grand Rapids I've talked to a bunch, Vertigo Music. I try to go down there. It used to be once or twice a year. It's been a lot more frequently because it's nice to get out of the house and go for a drive with my kid who does like shopping for records now. So, yeah, it's 2-hour drive to Grand Rapids, 2-hour drive home. We'll go down, blow a bunch of money, Vertigo Music, because Herm's got great prices, great selection in the punk, metal, hardcore. It's all sectioned out, and industrial and experimental. He's got sections for all this stuff, and it's all very plentiful. Then afterwards, we go to Steak and Shake. So it's just a fun trip. So that's basically in a nutshell. Plus, there's others, I'm sure, but those are the main ones for sure. And which leads us to number 5, Enigma. Show us a heavy metal album that musically is really hard to place in a heavy metal subgenre. Alan.
Yeah. This is a question I thought of because I recently ran into something that I had a very hard time trying to pigeonhole anywhere. This was something was sent as VCLT. It's an Australian band called Sacrifix. Kind of a cool name, but I trip over it a lot. This is their debut. I think it's got 2 tracks on it, if I remember right. But yeah, trying to figure out how to describe this is not easy. It's got elements of thrash, some elements of death, some elements of traditional metal, and it's all blended kind of evenly. It's not like you would say that oh yeah, it's a thrashy death metal. No, that doesn't feel right. It's not like you would say it's like traditional metal with blackened vocals. No, that doesn't fit it either. So I still don't really know exactly what to call it, and it's
very murky.
Kind of murky.
Yeah.
Just drive the point home when I went to pull this back off the shelf to use for this question. It's like, which shelf did I put it on? Did I put it on the thrash shelf or the death shelf? I separate things out by genre more. I had to check a couple of different shelves to figure out where I had put it. This is the kind of thing that breaks that system a little bit of trying to organize by genre. Cool, listen, but very, very hard to describe. I was gratified to see that some of the Australian metal fans, when I talked about this one before, agreed. Yep, that band is not easy to classify. They're good, but we like them, but we don't know how to describe them either.
Member of Johnny Touch is in that band.
Yep. Those guys have the touch tendrils kind of reach out and touch a lot of things.
And Misery's Omen and a bunch of other shit too. Bunch of stuff.
Yep. So Marty, what did you pick for this one?
I picked 2. I don't know. This was another one I struggled with a little bit, but the one that came up pretty quickly was Voivod. Even back in the day, their first album was kind of, they're trying to push them into the thrash category, which I think works a little bit better for Roar, their second album. But as this band went, they started to get a little bit more progged out and a little bit more experimental, and they just never really fit in what was going on. I think it's easy to label them as a thrash band, but it just doesn't really feel right. It just seems like they're a bit more than that. So for me, Voivod was always kind of walked their own path, which is another very cool thing that pulls me to them. And they do so in a way that isn't completely alienating, if that makes any sense. Another band, Psy. This is Shiki. I think it's probably pretty easy to put them in the black metal box, but there's a lot of other weird stuff going on here. They kind of have a blank canvas. So I think black metal is their loose working order, but this album here especially it's pretty much, it feels like a modern blackish type of album. But some of their albums leading up to this one there's a lot of stuff going on that maybe hard for some people to listen to, and maybe hard to pigeonhole into any sort of a category for me.
Calling them black metal does not get the job done.
No, definitely a weird mix there. All right, Eating Crow. Talk about an album you used to hate, but after years it finally clicked, and now you can't get enough of it.
Okay.
Alan.
Yeah, this album I never hated, but I never really wrapped my brain around it. It was always when I felt like, I don't think that's really for me. Yeah, but I did revisit it from time to time. It's like, yeah, I don't think that's for me. Finally, here a year and a half ago, though, I played it again. It's just like, oh, now I get it. For whatever reason, the stars just lined up right. It's Atheists, Unquestionable Presence. I've always liked the debut album, but as they started to get obviously more proggy and more complicated, it just left me scratching my head. But this particular album, has finally lined up, and now I really, really do enjoy this one. It's one I've been going back to on and off, for a year or so now. It works. It's great. It's brilliant. I finally do hear it. And like I said, I don't think I ever really hated it, but it always to me seemed like this was just a bridge too far for my tastes. But either my tastes have expanded or my brain grew 2 sizes that day. I don't know what happened, but Unquestionable Presence is now an album I like quite a bit. After
kind of like the Grinch's heart, it grew 2 sizes.
You got the reference, absolutely. Absolutely, that's what we were going for.
Nice.
So, yep, that's the one I have finally come around on, and I'm glad I did because it's a pretty awesome album. Marty, what have you finally come around on?
Well, this is a band that when I was younger, I like some hairish type of metal bands. I think a lot of us that have been into this for a while have, but I always had a problem with this band's vocalist. I still kind of do. And I used to own this on tape back in the day and got rid of it because it just wasn't as cool as Rat. They just weren't. Anyway, I'm talking about some Dokken, some under lock and key.
Okay.
And this album in particular, will the sun rise when it's over? It's just a weak vocal performance, but overall the songs are really well done. Great guitar work. They're catchy as hell, even with the weak, super weak vocal. He's got a good tuneful voice. It just doesn't have any power behind it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But this album clicked with me over the years, and I finally went and had to find it on record. I paid $25 for this stupidly. I don't know. It's fun. It's good being back rocking with Dokken, I guess I should say. But I used to talk a lot of shit about this band. Still kind of do. I still think the vocals are largely the weakest link on this album, but it's ultimately part of the charm of it, I guess. It's part of their sound. It's part of their style. It's named after the guy, for fuck's sake. So here you go. Dokken, Under Lock and Key was the one for me. How about you, Al? You already did that, didn't you?
I did, yes. Yeah, I went with Atheists, Unquestionable Presence.
Atheists, that's right. All right. Impulse. Show an album that you blind bought in 2024.
Okay. Now, I had heard of this band. I probably heard a few clips here and there, but I never sat down to listen to an album. And I'm trying to remember where I got this. I think this was very much one of those kind of Discog shopping things where it's like, there's already 2 things in the cart. Why not make it 3? And so I added this album, Hooded Menace, Tritonus Bell. Pretty sure it's their most recent album. And
I think so.
And yeah, this is a good example of where blind buying is kind of a double-edged sword. Sometimes, it can be really fun. You can discover some cool stuff that way. And sometimes you just want your money back because you get an album you just can't get into at all. I will play this album some more. I have not completely written it off, but man, on first impression, I don't get the big deal about this. To me, this is like very kind of watered down death doom. I think I'm also just learning over time in terms of death doom. I prefer it be a little bit more on the darker, heavier side. And stuff like this, where it's actually going for a little bit of, the cleaner, softer, see the softer side of Sears and Death Doom. Those albums have a hard time winning me over. And this album just seems a little too clean, a little too soft, a little too dreary. It's just not what I'm looking for in this style, I don't think. So, yeah, blind bought it. It's $7. I'm not going to starve, but, I could have used those $7 to buy something else that I probably would have liked better. blind buying is a mixed bag for me these days, and it's not something I tend to do a ton of. I get the appeal, but I also know I've thrown away a lot of money blind buying over the years that didn't really work out in the end. So I'll give this another spin, maybe when I'm a little bit more in the mood for this type of material, and maybe it'll click then. But for now, this blind buy bit me in the butt.
Well, I got to say, blind buy, I would say 80-85% of the music I buy is either an educated guess or a band I've already know who they sound like, or it's just complete blind faith. And yeah, I could spend the time to research, but I don't, because I miss the days where buying music was supposed to be exciting. I don't want to buy something that I've already listened to 50 times. I mean, we all do that, but I don't. I try to just go in and have an educated, oh, it's on this label, it must be good, or kind of the old ways of investigation before you buy. But so a lot of my collection is that way. Here's basically me going through Sentient Ruins website. I was in a big mood here this year for electronic music and electronic, industrial music in particular, and metal that has been injected with electronic music. So I went to Sentient Ruin, who are actually quite good at signing bands under this flag. These records were both cheap. I'm like, fine. They both had the description that matched that. So I bought, I don't know how to say the name of this band. It's I think it's 5.12. Lucifer Sabbatean is the name of the album.
Do you need a decoder ring for that?
You need a decoder ring.
Good Lord.
Yep. And the other one is by a band called Ash Prison, Future Torn. Both of these are on Sentient Ruin, and I bought them at the same time with some other stuff as well. One of these is more industrial fused blackish metal, and the other one is more noise / dark ambient soundscapes mixed in with a little bit of metal. I can't remember which one is which. I've listened to each twice in a list of a bunch of bands that are very similar to this. So, but yeah, that's like, you get a bunch of records all at once. You kind of listen to things once and it kind of sits in a pile. Oh, I'm going to circle back to that. 3 years later, you haven't touched it type of thing. That's kind of what this is. But yeah, these are blind bought, and I like this type of stuff. Just the mood I was in when I bought them kind of left me about the time I got listening to them. And so it didn't stick. But yep, those are two blind buys that I haven't seen anybody show in the VC. So I figured we would go with those two.
Good deal. Good deal.
Which leads us to Collector Scum. Show a title that you own more than one pressing of on the same format, as in CD or LP or etc. So yeah, I pulled many examples of this. Go ahead, Alan.
I don't have any examples of this. I would never.
Oh yeah, I could think of one right off the bat. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, the example I decided to go with is I own 2 vinyl copies of Manila Road Crystal Logic.
Oh, I do too. I should have pulled that as well.
There's reasons for it. This one, as you can see, this is on Black Dragon on blue vinyl.
Yeah.
And this is a later pressing that came out in 86. It's not late, but Black Dragon licensed it from the band, and it came out a year or two after the original. This one is the original Roadster pressing that the band self-released themselves. And there is a reason to own both of these besides being just a sick little collector scum monkey.
Collector scum monkey.
Collector scum monkey. We have a new mascot, I have a feeling.
Yes.
Hey, Marty, it's a seal, not a monkey.
Yeah, right. Mel called it a panda today on her power metal. She said, I don't know what that is, a panda or something. They were talking about it on Heavy Metallurgy. I'm like, oh no, the shirt changes again. It's not a panda, it's a seal.
Oh my.
The Riot Panda. But anyway, go ahead.
Riot Panda, kind of like the sound of that. But yeah, when Black Dragon licensed it from the band, they actually, I guess they messed with the mastering a little bit, because some of the material is slightly sped up on here compared to the original. And you hear the difference right away when you play, the album, it's got that intro to Necropolis where they do the kind of creepy voice. And on the original, it's very slow and very deep and very scary. And on the Black Dragon pressing, it is not so slow and not so deep and not quite as scary. So you hear the difference right away between the two, that there is a difference in the sound. And big kudos to Aaron, the metal theologian, for pointing that out to me a few years ago. I'd always wanted the Black Dragon pressing just because I'm a collector monkey scum. But I didn't realize it actually did have a different sound. And he pointed out and said, oh, yeah, it's actually different. And I'm like, now I want it even more. I was eventually able to pick it up. So that was my pick for this one, because it is 2 copies, both on vinyl, but different pressings, and actually do have a little bit of a different sound to them. All right, Marty, let's roll the tape on some of your examples for this. What did you choose that you've got some multiple copies of?
Well, I've got 2 copies of Nocturnity from Grease Onyx album. They look pretty much exactly the same.
Oh, okay. I've seen that around, yeah.
Until you flip it around to the back. Different pictures. One of them is on Kyrk, Kyrck Productions, Kyrk. And the other one's on Solstitium. Hard to say that. And Kyrk Productions. So there's just a different pressings of the same album. Greek black metal, really good. 2 versions of Storm of the Lightsbane. One's the Nuclear Blast America version when it came out. The other one's a 2 CD set with bonus materials. Storm of the Lightsbane unreleased alternative mix, 1995. Of course, I got the vinyl too of that. Another one. Let's get that right. Fate's Warning, Awaken the Guardian, original pressing on CD, and the Blu-ray or the DVD and remastered, re-released version, 2 CD box set. And of course, we've got 2 copies of My God-Given Right. You got the original CD, and then you got the 2 CD book thing, which it's just stupid. It's got a bunch of bonus tracks on it, and bought it from Canada. I paid way too much money for this, and it was damaged in shipping. So it's like beat your head against the wall type stuff. But that's just a small portion of the sickness that runs through this house as well.
Yes,
it's
we could do a long stream of showing off extra copies of things.
Yep. Okay, show off a Grail, something you really wanted that you acquired in 2024. Ellen.
Okay, this one I had to think a little bit. I didn't really pick up any big old things off my want list this year, but I had been looking for this band's first couple of albums, and I found a really cool version on one of them. And then this, I'll show it and then I'll explain it. It is the first Atrocity album, Hallucinations, and it's not only a vinyl copy, it's also a white label test press copy of all things. And I found it at the local record store. This was not a Discogs or an eBay or anything. This was just walk into the same record store I go into, a couple of times a month, look around if they have any like newer, nicer vinyl items. They always have them up on the wall, of course. And I'm like looking along, it's just like, Taylor Swift, Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, Atrocity, Backstreet Boys. Oh, what? Huh? And yeah, somebody had brought in some really nice heavy metal items. The guy at the counter said they had a test pressing of the second album as well, and somebody had already come in and bought that one, but didn't buy this one. I'm amazed somebody bought one and not both. I'm really glad it played out this way, because I had the second album already, so this was the one I was looking for, and to wander into a local store and find a white label test press of it, that was pretty cool, because obviously these first 2 albums have been kind of hard to find and kind of pricey, for quite a while. And so I will count that as my Grail item for the year, because that just ain't going to happen ever again.
Definitely not. All right.
So what Grail did you obtain this year, Marty?
I hope this was this year. I don't remember. It all kind of bleeds together, but certain someone got me this little gem here. A little sick little monkey down in South Carolina. Thank you again, Alan. I had the remastered re-release of this, and this showed up. I think it was a birthday gift. Showed up
That
one
was just
day.
birthday. Yeah, I believe that was birthday this year. So middle of the summer. As much as you love that album, I was like, no. He needs an original copy, not just a later reissue copy.
Sounds fantastic. Noise International pressing. I think Epic's on here too, aren't they? No. Nope. Just Noise. So, yep. Awesome. Again. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I have it on CD, had it on tape. I got the reissue vinyl, but you know, the ones you love, you always have to have. You just got to have the stuff, you know.
As high up in the pantheon as that album is for you, yeah, you had to have it. I found it for a decent price. I was like, yeah, let's wrap that up for a birthday present.
And for all the people that are filing in new and figuring what the hell's going on here, we're going through the Metal Tag 2025. So anybody has a YouTube channel wants to do the Metal Tag this year, we've got a list of 20 questions down in the description. Go check it out and build your own adventure, so to speak.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and if folks aren't familiar with the Metal Tag, that's basically the idea. Someone comes up with a list of 20 music-related questions. You see it for other styles of music too, I think. It's just that, Scott, the Rock Scout, decided, years ago to do a heavy metal version of it. And the idea is that, you do it, and then somebody else kind of picks it up, and they provide their answers to the 20 questions. And then another channel picks it up and provides their answers to the 20 questions. And it just kind of becomes like, almost like an old-fashioned chain letter that people use for content at the beginning of each year.
Yep. And getting back into it, we're the halfway point here. We're into number 10, another VCLT question. A plea to the VCLT gods. What is a Grail item you are on the hunt for? Alan.
I'm not looking for anything. I just buy on Bandcamp now, digital only. Not exactly. Let's see. Marty disappeared for a second, but I can certainly answer this one. There's a few things I would still like to find. The one I chose to answer this question with is this. This is one of the first 2 7-inch singles by Tokyo Blade. It's called Second Cut. Very distinct picture sleeve. It came out at the same time as another 7-inch single. They basically had 2 singles come out at the same time. I have the other one, but I don't have this one. And it's kind of weird because it never struck me that either of the singles were like, they were never considered like, 50 pressed, top rarity, $1,000 items that you'll never see in your lifetime. They never had that reputation. I just really like early Tokyo Blade and wanted to get, the records from that era. And this record has eluded me for much, much longer than I care to admit. Something you also have to be mindful about with this one, and it will trip you up if you're not careful. This has been bootlegged. Copies will pop up on Discogs every now and then. They're really easy to tell apart, though, because the bootlegs are just plain white label copies. So, of course, a lot of people will advertise them like, oh, it's a white label, like a test press or a promo or something. Like, no, it's not. It was made in the 1990s and jammed in an old picture sleeve. It is not an original copy of the record. So even when you do finally see a copy turn up, it's probably the bootleg, and even the bootleg doesn't turn up often. But it's been a very long time since I've seen anyone offer up an original copy with the picture sleeve for sale. It's one of the very last new wave of British heavy metal singles that's on my want list. There's 1 or 2 others I still need to track down. Yeah, and there's a lot of them that I would buy, but only like if the price was right, kind of things. This is one I would pay, full fair price for if I could find the original. So, yep, that is my plea. I need to get this one off that new wave of British heavy metal want list so I can focus on the other 1 or 2 that are still on there. All right, Marty, what are you hoping the VCLT gods can deliver?
Well, I have 2 I wrote down. There's probably more, but 2 that came top of my head was the 4th album by Death Row called Life Beyond. I've never seen that anywhere. In fact, I own it on CD as a bootleg of the original cover. It's a bootleg CD, and then I own the Dive Bomb reissue of it with a completely different cover. I just want the OG vinyl to go with the other three sitting on the shelf. And the other one I'm looking for an OG of is the Holy Terror Mind Wars. I have Terror in submission, but I'm looking for Mind Wars. I could buy a High Roller reissue of it, but I kind of just want the original Roadrunner Road Racer pressing of that. So those are two I'm looking for.
That one too, yeah.
Yeah. Which the reissues? I have the CD. I've got the box set. I've got multiple. I could have pulled that Holy Terror out too for multiple pressings, but OG vinyl would be pretty cool sitting on the shelf. Okay, that brings us to number 11, Boomerang album. Show an album that no matter how many times you purge it from your collection, another copy returns to you. This was so easy for me. Oh my God.
Yeah, I've had a few. For this one, this popped to mind. The debut album from Vixen.
Did I send you a copy of that?
Nope. No? I don't think. If you have, then I've owned it four times.
Danger. I sent you a Danger.
Yeah, as if I didn't have it already.
I know, but what else was I going to do with it? I wasn't going to listen to it.
It's okay. I bestowed it upon another VCLT member who is now a convert. He knows who he is.
Yep.
But yeah, now this one I've owned at least 3 times, possibly 4 times. I had it on cassette back in high school. I upgraded the cassette to a CD at some point. At some point, that CD wandered out of the collection and it wandered back in, and it may have done so again. So this is either copy number 3 or 4. Like, I know they're not the greatest band to ever, grace music, but I do like the set of songs they have. I always liked, the vocalist. Thought she had a good voice for this style, and they had a good set of songs for this style. So I can absolutely still enjoy these as just a throwback to teenage days when hair metal and stuff was a thing, and it was a gateway into heavier stuff for some folks. Some folks will laugh at me for that. I would remind those folks that you probably got into heavy metal by listening to Korn. So don't throw, rocks and glass houses full of Korn. So yeah, Vixen has come back and forth several times. Marty, you said this was easy for you. So
oh yeah,
which one has bounced back and forth for you a bunch?
Okay, I'm answering chat there. Okay, well, the third full length from this band, the German band, Gorefest, Erase. Had this on cassette when it came out. Hated it. I mean, False, the album that came before this, is an absolute favorite death metal album for me. Love it. And to hear this, the tough guy vocals are more groovier. They tried to go the path of Entombed, but they did it in a weird way, and it just is crap.
Yeah.
Got rid of the tape. Came in as a CD. I got rid of that. I gave that CD away to somebody. Came back. I said, okay, I'm just going to keep this on the shelf. That way it won't be like Tribbles and keep reproducing. My buddy Lance sent me a copy of it. So I currently have 2 copies of this fucking thing. If anybody in the chat absolutely needs this and you live in the U.S., hit your boy up. I'll hook you up with a copy of a really shitty Gorefest album. But yeah, it's one of those deals that it's just so bad. People don't want it, and they think it's funny to give it to me. I don't know. I don't get it, but there it is.
It's one of those monkey paw situations where no matter how many times you throw it away, you turn around and it's right back in the corner of the room.
Oh, Scott, you too, huh? Okay. Well, there it is. So yeah, hit your boy up here. Let me get you an email. Hey, wait a minute. Did anybody ever get a hold of us for the Deserts of Hex giveaway?
No, we still have winners, and at some point I'm going to have to give those to somebody else. So,
just repick them. If it's this, it's been a month at this point. No one's.
It's been a few episodes. Yep. So yeah. I'll give folks a few more days, but yep. Maybe by next week we might have to re-offer those Desert of Hex issues so somebody can enjoy them.
Here is the email address to get a hold of me if you want a Gorefest CD, and if you're a Desert of Hex winner, there's the email address. I mean, free magazines. They're not little shitty freebie zines either. They're big, bulky, amazingly. Yeah, some of the best writers out there. Yeah. All right, what's up next here? That's page number 1. We're on to number 12. Reunion. Name an artist that you had lost track of over time but reconnected with in 2024. Alan.
One for me, and they released one of the better albums in 2024. The Japanese band Coffins. Cool death doom band.
Yeah.
I checked them out pretty early in their career. I don't even remember which albums it was, but I had a couple of things from them. It's like, yep, this is pretty cool. And then they just completely fell off my radar for about a decade. I always kind of knew they were still going, but never thought to check in and see what they were doing. And then earlier this year, they had their new album come out. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, what the heck? Let's see how the band sounds. And it's absolutely a terrific album. I think it's got an amazing sound to it, great production. Really enjoyed it. It just missed out on being in my top 10 of the year. It would have been like, if I did a top 20, it would have been in there for sure, no problem. So yeah, interesting to see what Coffins was doing. They hadn't really changed much. They're still doing the same thing. Yeah. But I think they're still, what's impressive is they're still doing it incredibly well and maybe even better than they used to. So Coffins was a happy reunion for me. Who was your reunion band for the year, Marty?
For me, it was the Swedish band Monogram.
Oh,
I had their first couple albums when they came out back in the day when they were on Displeased Records. I believe that's where I got them from. I had copies for the distro. I liked them, but I just average, heard it better, I got rid of them. I sold all the copies. Mm-hmm. And this past year, I reconnected with this band, and they've got a bunch of records. I bought the 8 CD box set and that's the 4 more CDs that came out after it. This is their latest. And I've just been listening to the crap out of this. They strike me as the same vein as Enslaved, if Enslaved wasn't proggy. They're just kind of folkish black metal, kind of leaning heavy on the folk at times. They've got a dedicated fiddle player, and do some acoustic songs for the pagan folk feel. I don't know. I really like this band. They clicked with me. I had to have everything. And this year was the year I completely splurged on this one and got everything. I'm all caught up to speed now. So even have a shirt that I greatly dislike. It does not look like it looked in the picture. And, this is the way it goes. But, yeah, Monogram for me. And let's go to the next one. Upstart. Name a new band whose debut album really impressed you. And the debut didn't have to come out in 2024, but recently-ish. Alan.
Yes, we're talking a band that's still pretty new on the scene, even if their debut isn't this year. I've talked about this band plenty. Rick had them listed as his favorite album of 2024 when we did our countdown a few nights ago. Early Moods, doom metal band out of California. They just have the perfect blend of all your favorite doom elements, such as Pentagram and Witchfinder General, bands of that ilk. They do it better than anyone else is doing it these days. Other doom bands, that are, combining things or experimenting may be, a little more interesting to some folks. But if you want that very pure Pentagram meets Black Sabbath meets Witchfinder General sound, Early Moods is the way to go. This is the debut album from, I think 2022. One of my favorite albums of that year. I've played it a ton of times. So yeah, the debut from this band absolutely blew me away. The sophomore effort that came out this year was also very, very good. It's very much in the same style. They're not dicking around. This band is also out on the road a lot. They are paying their dues and really trying to make a go of it. So here's hoping that they can get some breaks and get some wider exposure. Because, yeah, this band is definitely an up-and-comer, in my opinion.
All right. Band for me. A Finnish band. Power Trio. Yes, Power Trio. Young guys. What the hell am I doing? This. Morbific. Seep of... I'm sorry. Ominous Seep of Putridity. This is their debut album. And as far as OSDM goes, these guys are Finnish. They've got that dark, nasty, sort of evilish riff style going on here. And it is in the OSDM field where there's a million bands like this. These guys just did it in a way where there was riffs. And I've said before, a lot of these bands are more of the sound, this polluted, heavy, super low tune, just a polluted, cavernous sound. These guys have that to a certain extent, but there's riffs as well. So really good, sick vocals. I thought this was a pretty impressive debut. The second album is good. I don't know if it's as good as this one, but I like both of them. This one is particularly good. So yeah, check out Morbific, Ominous Seep of Putridity. Good debut album. All right, and that brings us to Influencer. Show a band/release that you bought in 2024 as a direct result of watching someone's YouTube channel. Alan.
All right, let's see. For this one, I have picked this one. I believe Melanie reviewed this. Melanie over at Melanie Loves Death Metal. I think she reviewed this one on her channel in 2023. It's a 2022 or 2023 release. Wasn't something I was going to pick up. I've had some albums by the band, and they're okay. Not the kind of thing I play very often. But she talked this one up so much that I was like, you know what? When I get a chance, I will. Well, I'll give it a chance, and I did. It's the newest album from Bellwitch, which I will butcher the name of. I don't remember the full title.
That's a tough sell for me. Tough.
Yeah. Something, Future Shadow. Yeah. And yeah, I've got their first couple of albums, which again, they're not bad, but I really have to be in just the right mood to listen to Bellwitch. And so when this one came out, especially the fact that, this was, going to be a double, album kind of thing, and just having a couple of, very huge, long song structures to it. I'm just like, I don't think that's not for me. That doesn't sound like something I'm going to dig. But yeah, when Melanie got it, she, did a really in-depth review, walking through the album very slowly, highlighting different parts that she really liked and stuff. And I just thought, okay, in a former life, Melanie, you were a used car salesman because, you absolutely got me to go ahead and give this one a try. And it is pretty good. Of the ones I've heard by the band, I think it is my favorite. Again, it's not one I'm taking out and playing on a weekly or even monthly basis, but it definitely was worth checking out, and I'm glad I did. That's, the fun thing about watching, different channels or reading different people's reviews, lists, and such. Over time, you kind of start to figure out, whose tastes are similar to yours and whose aren't. And so you kind of figure out, who to trust when it comes to those things. It's like, yeah, if Melanie's hyping something really hard, then it's probably a good idea to at least give it a spin and see what the fuss is about. She doesn't hype crap. She just doesn't. So, yeah. Cheers, Melanie, for getting me to check out that latest Bellwitch album from, again, I think it was last year. Pretty sure it was last year.
I think you're right. Yep.
All right, Marty, what did you get talked into checking out by someone?
Well, I think Simon showed this on his channel. Melanie showed this on her channel. And it wasn't until I started editing Simon's review for Heavy Metallurgy of the new Engulfed album called Unearthly Litanies of Despair.
Oh, right.
I was pulling sound samples out to put into the review and finally got what Melanie and Simon were both talking about in their calling out as positive in their videos. So, yeah, this thing is just crushing, well-written, nasty, evil death metal from Turkey. And the guy in it is in, what's this other band he's in? Starts with the H. Brain's not working right. But yeah, check out Engulfed. Thanks to the YouTube community for turning this on to that. And that leads us to number 15. Don't judge a book by its cover. Show a great album with bad cover art. Alan.
There's no bad cover art in heavy metal.
Hyperdontia. Thanks, LKV. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Hyperdontia. Okay, good. There you go. All right, this one. Yeah, I mean, there's 100 examples you could pick of this probably. The one I have chosen for the Metal Tag 2024 is Pentagrams, Be Forewarned. Third album by the band Yeah, great album, tons of classic killer songs on it. I've never liked this cover. The first thing is just the color scheme is really weird. Pentagram's, doom metal. And the fact that it's got this kind of peachy orange color to it just is kind of odd. I don't know why they didn't go with more of like the sepia kind of thing or black and white or something. I mean, when you're thinking like, doom and despair and drugs and all this stuff, do you think peach? Do you think nectarine orange? I don't. So I don't like the color. And I get the idea that they're probably trying to do some kind of, vampirism thing going on here with, but the blurry photo trying to show the motion like he's lunging at her, it just looks like a blurry picture with a funny exposure to it. Nothing about this cover really works well for me, but the album absolutely slays. It's maybe a little too long. It's maybe could have cut a few tracks out of it. I'm not saying it's perfect, but Victor Griffin just sounds monstrous on this album. So tons of classic stuff, but that cover could have used some work. That was my choice for this one.
Tyler, good call. That Shadows of Old album cover is so stupid. Bad.
Yeah. That's a very good example. Agreed.
All right. Well, for me, I picked the classic. None Shall Defy.
Yes.
You got jazz hands. You got the goblin guy just got out of Burger King. He's got the crown on.
Construction paper in a kindergarten class.
All the band pictures are awesome though. You got that's a seller right there. But yeah, Infernal Majesty, None Shall Defy. This is a killer album. The cover just is not worthy of the album material. It just isn't. But there's a bunch we could have pulled. This is the first one I saw. Frosty in the chat saying the same thing. But
Jeff, that Saint Vitus one, that's another one where the color of the album colors it's just weird. It's like Saint Vitus of all bands, and you've got this weird like purple fuchsia color scheme to the cover. It's just like that's not Doom. It's just so weird. That's a good call, Jeff.
All right. Next up, Rembrandt. Show an album whose cover art was created by one of your favorite artists.
Okay. Again, obviously tons of good stuff we could pick here. This guy's done a ton of heavy metal album covers, and his style is very distinctive. You can spot him in a second, and they almost always turn out really good. Talking about Andreas Marschall. And the example I picked was Running Wild's Masquerade. The reason his art is so easy to pick out is that he always highlights the main characters in the picture with that kind of ghostly white outline. He always does it. It doesn't matter whether it's, has any context or not. But I mean, you think like, Immolation, what is it? Failures for Gods, same thing.
Yep.
In Flames, Jester Race, same thing. All these Running Wild covers and stuff. It's always got that outline. The other thing that's really cool though is that if you just look at it, it's like, okay, that's nice enough. But when you look closely, there's tons of detail, even in the backgrounds on all of his pictures. He always fills in all kinds of different patterns, designs, landscaping, details on the costumes and stuff, that whatever clothes or hats people are wearing. It's very, very detailed. So yeah, it's one of those things that it makes a nice image to start with, but then you can also kind of geek out by zooming in and picking out stuff over time. The kid who did the first Fates one. I'm pretty sure their name has been changed to protect them. They're in the witness relocation program or something. But I always like Andreas's art style. I think it just really works incredibly well for heavy metal album cover art.
Yeah.
Marty, who did you choose?
I picked an older one and a newer one. We've got a piece here by Necrolord on the Blue Dawson Nord album. What's the name of this one? Memoria. Oh, I can hardly read this. Vetusta.
Okay.
Saturnian poetry. Necrolord just got that. He works. It feels like you're standing at the top of that waterfall looking down into the valley. I love it. And it's not a blue tint like he normally goes with, but this could very well been the Emperor's in the Night Side Eclipse as well. Same type of fieldscape or depth in the picture in the painting, but great photo or a great painting. Does this fold out? I think it does. Yeah. So here's the whole piece. Very impressive piece. I like a lot of his stuff, and I went with this one just because I wanted everybody to drink with us. Elran Cantor. Maybe the thing that made this cover the most impressive is the fact that Halloween had such a long run of really shitty album covers. So
you finally paid an artist.
They finally paid somebody that had more than a starting understanding of Photoshop to actually paint a painting. I like the color scheme on this. I like how his style's a little sloppy, a little messy. You see that on Hey Uber Alice on the new Creator. It's a cool image. It's just a little messy because they got that spaceships all washed out and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, Cantor's style is pretty distinctive and always looks cool.
The New Testament album. I mean, he just has a cool eye for color, and again, his stuff is a little. You can see the brush strokes on this stuff, which I like. Like this zombie dude here. He's just kind of a mossy looking mess, which I dig. But yeah, Elran Cantor, very cool.
Yep.
All right, where are we at here?
Getting near the end.
Yep, number 17. Name an album that you would like to see reissued on vinyl or CD. Your preferred medium.
Okay, this is a slightly weird one because it did get reissued this year, but only on vinyl, and I want a CD copy of it. And it has been reissued on CD even in the past 10 years, but they are surprisingly expensive. I don't think there's a single CD copy I've seen online in the past 6 months that's been under like $40 or so, which that just ain't happening. Making sure I get the title right because I'm prone to giving it the wrong title. It is the second Malevolent Creation album, Retribution. I like that album a lot for whatever reason, and you just can't find an affordable copy of it on CD anywhere. And yes, I know the vinyl reissue came out, literally just a few months ago, which is cool, but it's just a title I would prefer to have on CD. And I'm not paying $35, $45, $50 for a CD. And again, that's not even for like the original CDs. That's the pressings that came out, like in the 2000s. You're still paying that much for it on CD, which I'm not paying that for it on CD. So I would like to see that get, a normal CD repressing so that I can buy it for, less than the price of a brand new vinyl item. So yeah, that is my choice. Malevolent Creation Retribution. Let's put that back out on CD one more time, please. Marty, what do you want a reissue of?
This guy right here, Flesh Crawl, Descend into the Absurd. I don't know if this has ever been reissued past the point of initial release. I got this when it came out on cassette. I wish I bought the CD because it has never been, as far as I know, ever been reissued. And I see people griping about it online, and I'm just wondering if the rights of this died with Boss. I have no idea how it all works, but this is a great German band trying to sound Swedish, and they do a very good job of it. Descend to the Absurd by Flesh Crawl. I would take this on CD or LP. CD probably. I've got the rest of their stuff on CD, so CD for me on this is good. But this is an excellent album, and it's a bummer. Tapes I just don't spin as much these days.
Let's see. This is interesting. Neanderthal says it may have just got pressed from South American, but is not a bootleg. He's
really?
So
wow.
Interesting.
Are you sure it's not a bootleg, Alex? It's a South American. Are you sure it's not a bootleg? Is it Icarus? Is it that Argentinian label Icarus that put it out? Anyway, I'll check. I'll look around for it. Good to know.
Yeah. Goldiewax, that's a cool pick. That's a really, really good album. Yep. Culprit Guilty as Charged. Love that one.
All right. Number 18. Name an album from a genre that you typically do not listen to very much.
And to be very clear, this can be any, Marty and I discussed this. This can be any genre. It doesn't have to be like a metal subgenre or anything. So
whoever's doing the video, you can take these however. Open for
yeah. People may interpret these differently, but we did intend this to be open to any album from any genre that a genre as long as it's something you don't listen to very much. It take me long to figure this one out. Alabama's Roll On album.
All the gold.
Because every now and then the professor goes just a little bit country, and when I do, this is probably the album I'm playing. This was huge when I was a kid. I could probably sing along to almost every song on this album verbatim, even now. I don't have a physical copy of it anymore, but I do have it digital, and there's usually at least once a year where I just have to, I just got to rosin up that bow for Lady Love. Let's all dance.
Go and play in Texas. Gotta have a fiddle in the band.
Country is not my genre whatsoever, but there are a few exceptions that I really love, and this is one of the country albums that I absolutely love this thing. All right, roll on, Marty. What's your choice for this one?
Hey, Alex, thanks for the link to that Flesh Crawl. Appreciate that. All right, what did I pick? Oh. I talk about this. I talk about
it's never good when your wife is responding with OMG to my Alabama pick.
Yeah, especially about that. Yeah. I'm into industrial music. I go in moods with it. I don't listen to it all the time, but when I do, I just want to dig in and find all the good stuff. And it's intimidating because there's a lot of it, and it's not all good. But this last round of me being into it lasted a couple months, and I did a little research and splurged a little bit. I got some Mentalo in the Fixer. I picked up. There's a 4 CD lot. You can get these cheap on eBay. Return to Grimpen Ward and Continuum. Dancey, sort of industrial with dark. None of these bands are Skinny Puppy. Let's just get that out of the way right now. But it's dancey. They're dark. Typically altered vocals with effects and stuff. It's just solid, well done. A lot of instrumental type stuff here and there too, which I typically like the industrial with vocals, but these guys are good at whatever they do. I've got like 4 of their CDs, 5 of their CDs now, and it's all been good. So yeah, and I've showed Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. I've been on a big Fleetwood Mac kick. I've been listening to Rumors and the self-titled quite a bit. So that's all just from the shit from the 70s, nostalgia. But this industrial stuff, I feel it scratches a similar itch as metal does, because it can be extreme and dark at the same time. So yeah, Industrial, Mentalo, and the Fixer, and we're on number 19. What band do you hope to see live in 2025? Alan.
Yeah, I really hate not answering a question on something like this, but I just don't have an answer to this one, because quite frankly, I would be amazed if I go to a single show in 2025. I live in a slightly rural corner of the South. Bands do not tour around here. If they're even come close, they're going to be in Charlotte, which is 2 hours away in one direction, or they're going to be in Atlanta, which is 2 hours in the other direction. Yeah, there's no one around here to go to shows with. If the wife and I want to go, we have to drop hundreds of dollars because you got to look at babysitters and all this kind of stuff. It just ain't going to happen, realistically speaking. I'll give a token answer, though, because Nile is supposed to play. They're kind of a local band. They're supposed to play locally sometime in January. I'd like to go see them. The odds are they're going to play at 10 p.m. on a weeknight when I've got to be up and out to work at 6 a.m. the next morning, and it's just probably not going to happen. So, yeah. Catching bands live just does not work out for me. So kind of a grinchy bah humbug answer to it, perhaps. But odds are I don't see a single show this year. I couldn't tell you the last time I made it to a show. I'd really have to stop and think. But almost certainly pre-COVID, and probably by a lot. It's been a while since I've gotten out to anything, because very few bands come through. Even like last year, while I was trying, Horrendous and Tumult did play locally. I got sick that day, and they had to move the venue last second to some place I had never heard of. So it just fuck it. Venom played not far away a year ago, but it was over an hour commute because they were playing early and it was rush hour, and did the math. It's like, it's going to be like $100 frickin' to see Venom with no original members on stage. Didn't go. So yeah, catching bands live just does not work well for me these days, but hopefully it works well for other folks. Marty, who are you hoping it might work out for you?
Well, I tried to think about death metal band like Nile. Nile is coming to Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
A couple weeks, I think. Which I've seen Nile a bunch over the years. We opened a show for them in the Token Lounge before COVID. They were amazing. I'm thinking, I would go to the show until I start reading who the hell else is playing. Their support act is 6 feet under. I'm sorry. I don't care.
There you go.
I don't want to pay money to go see that. And the other couple bands that are open, I don't know who they are, and I don't care, kind of, which is lame to say. But so with death metal and stuff, get my ass in a car and drive either 2 hours or 4.5 hours south. It's got to be pretty fantastic. I've had the luxury of seeing a bunch of bands over the years, doing stuff for Maniacs and traveling around a little bit. Mm-hmm. I would love to get my kid and go to Europe and go to a festival. Wacken is a bit much. I'd pick a smaller one. But my kid I took him to see Halloween. He's in love with doing it. He wants to go see more bands. So I would take him to see Primal Fear. I know that they've been threatening to tour. I'd take him to go see Halloween again, of course. King Diamond, maybe. He's not really into King Diamond, but I think he would really like the show. And I just found that you go to a power metal show, it's a bunch of old dudes like me. You know what I mean? It's just such a chill vibe. It's just a bunch of old guys there for the music. And, not saying the death metal heads are much different. They're not. But, there's more of a, drunk and, weed contingent. And I'm taking a 14-year-old kid. I don't necessarily need to have him a part of that. So, Yep. But if a good show comes up, I'm way down to go see, whoever. And, playing shows, of course, we'll play some shows probably this coming year, I would hope. And I'll get a little bit of a death metal fix from that too. But
yep.
All right.
There'll be some good things out there. I mean, that Emperor tour people were talking about recently sounded really cool. Had a great lineup, but they're not going to come within 500 miles of me, and the tickets are outrageous, and fuck that. I think Sue told me today that Riot is planning to do a 50th anniversary tour in 2025 and playing tracks from throughout the entire discography. They won't come within 3 states of me. So
that might be one you have to go to, because
I
saw that Rock Hard thing. They did that, and they're so good, Alan. I don't know if you watched that link I sent you. It's awesome. They're so good.
I know they're great. I had a chance to see Riot live 15 years ago in South Carolina. A couple of friends from like the old Lapland Forum were like, you know what? They're playing this club in Northern Virginia where let's all, get together and carpool up there. And I was this close to going with them. And at the last minute, I was just like, this is not going to work out for one reason or another. And I didn't. And sure enough, the other guys went ahead. They met up. They drove all the way up there outside, up in Nova territory. Club wouldn't let them play. And Mark Reale was too sick to play anyway. And the club wouldn't let them play regardless of whether he was playing or not. And so basically those guys drove something like 14 hours to meet up with the guys in the parking lot of a Waffle House and buy a t-shirt and tell them they ruled and sorry, the show was canceled. That is my kind of luck. And that is why I will not travel long distance or pay big money to go to shows, because that kind of shit just too common for my experience.
You got a question here from John.
Let's see what you've got. John, sometimes you can get someone to stop, but it can be very sporadic on where. North Carolina is a very long state, east to west. If the band's like in Greensboro or Raleigh, which are natural places to stop, that's a solid 4 or 5 hours one way for me, which again, you have to be someone I really fucking want to see to even think about that. Greensboro has been getting more shows because John McEntee from Incantation has relocated there. So he's kind of been helping get some acts into that region. But yeah, really for North Carolina, for it to be even, Charlotte is 2 hours from me. Asheville is the closest at about an hour and a half. I'm not sure Asheville is still standing at this point. I mean, they absolutely got flattened by Helene, so I'm not sure what shape. I have gone to some shows in Asheville. That's probably the last show I went to was probably an Asheville one. But yeah, as far as South Carolina, there's a club in Spartanburg called Ground Zero that's gotten shows for a long time. Doesn't have a great reputation as a venue, and especially if it's a rush hour kind of end of the day thing, it takes me over an hour to get over to that place. The parking is crummy, the prices are high. It's not you're not you hear bands at Ground Zero, you're not exactly going to start jumping up and down thinking it's going to be a great time. Sad to say, I hate to say it about a local venue, but they just don't have a good reputation these days. So yeah, even though you'd think there would be a little bit more. The South, a lot of bands will play something maybe in Northern Virginia, and they're fine skipping all the way into Florida or Texas. You just cut the corner off this country and continue your tour. They just don't swing down. There's not many places for them to come to draw an audience, sadly.
Yeah.
All right.
Which leads us to our 20th one. In closing, tell your viewers, we're assuming most of you are going to be doing this are YouTubers, about 2 to you new YouTube channels that you discovered in 2024, or just shout out 2 channels that you enjoy. Alan.
Yeah, okay. Obviously, tons of good channels. Sorry, we can't shout out everybody. But 2 that I wanted to mention first off is Black Leather Eyes. Jason is the guy who runs that channel. Really cool guy, very friendly, really deep knowledge of hard rock, heavy metal stuff. He tends to have a lot of stuff that has kind of more of an occult vibe about it, whether that's older 70s bands or later sort of retro acts. But tons of really cool stuff in that and a very detailed knowledge of it. Enjoy his videos a lot. He used to do playlists on YouTube, I think is how he got started. And his playlists were always amazing. That's kind of where I first discovered him. He'd have all these kind of cool, semi-obscure to really obscure tracks to check out on his playlists in YouTube. So, yep, that's one wanted to shout out. We've talked to him about being a guest on Metallurgy before, but the time difference is obviously challenging since he's, forgive me, I always forget if he's in Scotland or Ireland. He's in one of the two. He's in the UK. Second channel I will shout out is one I discovered this year called The Metal Journal. This channel is run by Lindsay. She is in Scotland, and she writes for several different like metal websites and stuff. Her big thing is she tends to do like a weekly video highlighting some new releases. And her videos are nice. They're kind of short, compact. Here's the album. Here's a 2-3 minute description, maybe a sound clip, and covers a handful of new releases each week. Her specialty tends to be like atmospheric black metal and things that are going to be adjacent to that style. So, but she also knows a little bit more of like newer death metal bands, and maybe going towards a few more things that might be like a little bit more metalcore-ish. Not a lot of that, just it's material that I don't keep as close an eye on. So when something good comes out, it's a good channel for me to kind of be like, oh, hey, that one actually sounds good. I should go check that one out. So yep, the Metal Journal would be my second one that I wanted to shout out, because I don't think that channel's I don't see it come up in VCLT circles much. She's got a decent following, and yeah, it's a nice channel.
All right.
And apologies to everybody that I didn't get to shout out there.
Well, honestly, I've struggled to find. I have subscribed to a bunch of channels, and new ones in the way that YouTube organizes it, it's hard to figure out how and what. But I want to say a few criminally underwatched people, 2 people that contribute to this channel. I'm talking about Killing for Company, Kellen. Come on, everybody. If you're not subscribed here, if you're subscribed here and you like Kellen on the Wednesday Album Club, go over to his channel and subscribe. Another guy, Logan, Metal and Beer Snob. He's also a member of the Album Club. He's new to the game, of course, but another guy does a really good job. Go over and subscribe to his channel. I'm also a big fan of Chromium Dioxide Radio. Chromie is criminally undersubbed for all the work he does, and the entertainment he brings to the Metal VC, I think, is great. Bill, the Ninth Circle, really enjoy his channel.
Mm-hmm.
Darcy, 6 Strings, 9 Lives. He's doing really well with subs, but he's just an awesome guy. We've had on the show a bunch. He's going to be on a bunch more this coming year, hopefully. Great dude, great channel. Jurgen, 6 Beers, 9 Wives. Friend of the channel. Great. I watch every single thing he puts out as well. I just feel like I'm sitting in his room talking to him about metal. I love that. A new sub. Okay, I'm going to put a little call to arms. I did this on the Discord server the other day, and no one really has an answer for me. I recently subscribed to a guy named Power Metal Ranger. I've been wanting. I feel that my power metal in my education is just. I know the big ones. I do okay, but there's a whole realm. I've watched a few end of year where there's been a lot of new power metal bands I've never heard of. I would love a channel dedicated to this. Something doing like what Heavy Metallurgy does, that shows records, talks about them. I subscribe to this Power Metal Ranger guy. He does predominantly reaction videos, which are, I'm sorry, they don't give much. And in his year-end thing, he just basically says the name of the album in his list and doesn't give any info behind it. So it feels like, I don't know. If you're watching this and you know what's going on with power metal, start a goddamn YouTube channel and start talking about nothing but power metal. It may be a slow burn, which all these channels are, but I think it's a whole where, we talk about it here on this channel. There's others that talk about it, but 90% of what we all watch is, extreme metal, which is fine, but there's a lot of it. Let's get some power metal dudes out there doing this stuff, and dudettes, of course. So, yeah, that's it for me as far as the list goes. So, sorry.
There is a dearth of there is a dearth of power metal content out there.
It's bad. I've been looking, like searching for it, and there's like nothing, and there's nobody that's just dedicated to it. This Power Metal Ranger guy is like, he's covering just that, but he's not giving any substance with it, Missed opportunity.
Right idea, wrong delivery, sounds like.
Yep. So that's it. The Metal Tag 2025. Excellent. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Good turnout. Of course, everybody's off, getting ready to kiss their sweetie on New Year's.
Getting close to that time here on the East Coast of the U.S.
Yep. And is there anything we want to hit with some show notes before we end?
I don't think so. Sorry, I'm responding to Mike wanted something I'm adding to the chat right now, but I don't think so. I hope folks enjoy the tag. Really appreciate so many folks watching us here tonight, and I hope everybody has a great 2025.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been a great 2024. Saw a lot of growth on the channel, a lot of awesome people in the chat every week, every show. Thank you so much. Go check out the Discord server, Heavy Metallurgy Discord server. Links in the description. I will give one show note. Tomorrow night, we're talking about the debut album from Master Plan. And I hope to see as many people tomorrow night for the album club. So it'll be probably 4 other dudes ripping me apart for picking this record. So that'll be a fun discussion. But yeah,
it's a good record. Don't let the haters drag you down. It's a good record.
I'm not scared of those pukes. But that's it. Happy New Year, everybody. We really appreciate you all. And go check out Let's Talk Metal, Alan's channel. He just dropped a video today. I haven't
my
watched
top
it yet.
80 albums of the year, which is all the albums I heard this year.
Wow. Okay. Right on.
In 30 minutes. You can hear about 80 2024 releases in 30 minutes.
All you need to do is do a reaction for each one, and you got the Power Metal Ranger beat. Anyway, cheers, everybody. We will see you tomorrow night. Happy New Year. Hope it's a good one for you. Take care.
Roll on.